Well, I had to get repositioned at the last minute.
Of course, at the last minute. Critique-Opolis is back finally after we've been on, like a month-long hiatus.
It has been a while.
Okay.
We were busy. Life happens.
You want to tell everybody how you had to struggle to convince me to do this episode tonight?
Yeah, sure. Where do I begin?
It seems like whenever we do these, we do them at night. I'm always drowsy, and like I've had people come up to me at the booth and be like, "What is wrong with you on that podcast? You sound like you're like on methadone."
People comment that it sounds like you're tired when you do this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, we have done a lot of them late at night. It's just time escapes. What can we say?
I decided on, it was my turn to pick something, and this was a short that I had seen, I want to say like 6 months ago, and normally I'd look for a movie, but I enjoyed this short, and I was kind of convinced you weren't going to like it before I picked it, but I thought it would make for an interesting conversation. So there's a Netflix series called Love, Death, and Robots, and we can probably talk about both episodes we watched, because one was kind of dark and one was...
Oh yeah, we did watch 2. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first I watched with you was from season 3. It was like the last
episode.
Yeah, Jabaro. And it was hard to describe to you, so even while we talk about it now, I've got the Wikipedia pulled up on it, so I think the person who wrote this up is going to do a better job of describing it than I would, because the elements I can pull out of it, but it would take, if I didn't have this scripted out for me, it'd take me a while to remember it. It's kind of an alternative timeline. It's a mesh of two different historical, not events, but like seasons. So there's a group of conquistadors that is going through the wilderness, but it seems like they're all Indian. Like Indian, not Native American Indian.
I would say like Indonesian.
You didn't think the main character was Indian? That's the first thing I thought, but Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia, yeah, with that for sure.
But they're dressed as conquistadors with the whole armor on horses and drapes on the horses and everything. A priest stops on the trek deep in the forest, and they discover a siren in an isolated pond or lake, and she's draped in gold, both they're like scales, right? Scales, and she has like necklaces that flow from her ears and her nose to
she's
her arms.
Dripping in gold, yeah.
She's dripping in gold, and these conquistadors, that's what they were after. They just go berserk. But then she begins to sing, and her... I don't know how her voice is almost like a scream. And her singing...
Like a high-pitched scream, right?
Yeah, and it makes all the guys... It whips them into a frenzy, like an uncontrollable frenzy, and they charge into the water, and they start attacking one another. But our main character, he remains unaffected, and he's trying to grab his comrades and pull them back from the water. And you discover it was like, what, 15 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 20.
Maybe 15, 20 minutes. You discover that the Deaf Knight is Jabaro, and he's deaf. And you can tell this, they give a little clue to it. There's a tattoo next to his ear. It's like a hand or something, and it's for whatever reason, it's supposed to indicate that he is deaf and he can't hear the siren singing. And this is the other thing about this is it was shot in. I don't even. You're gonna have to help me here describe it because it was very fast and it's like the actors were. I don't want to say AI, but like.
They weren't real.
Yeah, they
I
were.
don't think. They weren't people.
No, they were like. They moved. You know what it reminded me of? It's like. They reminded me of paper animations where like the forearms and the shoulders would move only in like circular motions.
Yeah, like paper puppets.
Yeah, like paper puppets. But they had, it was like digital art, but only their limbs at the joints would move.
The style was very interesting.
Yeah, it was an unusual, you could tell it was in some way computer generated, but it wasn't actual people. And it takes you a while when you're watching it to kind of understand how it's an unusual form of animation. It's also cut very quickly from scene to scene, so the pacing is rather.
It's quick. It's very quick. It all happens rapidly.
The siren kind of stalks Jabaro because she's intrigued that he can't hear her and she can't seduce him. She even sleeps next to him at one night, and when he wakes up, he's startled by it, and they kind of look at each other. They kind of become infatuated with one another, but her mouth, instead of teeth, she has like, not needles, but almost like razors. And
I don't remember that detail, sorry.
if I know you wouldn't watch it again, but like if you there was a scene where she would smile and she just had like these little daggers in her mouth.
Yeah, that does sound kind of familiar.
It was just kind of off-putting, but they kiss and she causes him to bleed, and he grabs at her, and these gold scales of hers come off and kind of, they're almost like slivers. They get stuck in his skin, and this causes him to give chase to her. They begin this violent dance like throughout the water. Her environment is in the water, and this is where she kind of draws her power from. After she bites him with these teeth, he knocks her unconscious, and he strips her of a lot of the gold on her body. He discards her into the river and attempts to make off with the loot from her body. But the blood taints the surrounding body of water, and Jabaro eventually drinks from it, and his hearing is restored, leaving him vulnerable to the siren's final call. She's not dead, and he follows it and drowns in the bottom of the lake with countless other men before him. And it's a very quick, I guess, kind of a mishmash of tales of morals. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen stories or heard stories like this before. Like, you should leave well enough alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he just can't do it. He takes all this gold off, and he gets this gift of hearing. But since you would assume that because he reacts so violently, he reacts very violently when he has hearing. It's like shouting inside of his head, and he can't process it.
Mm-hmm.
But then the siren sings again, and he just kind of loses his mind and jumps back into the river like he almost got in the way. But I think I wanted to watch this again and just break it down, because this is one of those movies or shows that you can get little elements of a moral to it, but it becomes a little more clear when you watch it with somebody, because they can kind of validate like
what you're seeing.
Yeah, and I could just tell from you didn't. It was unsettling for you, yeah.
Yeah, it was very unsettling. It was very strange.
Yeah, Louisa doesn't really do Strange, but like you follow the plot though, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the very
Yeah.
least.
And I could appreciate that someone wrote this story and
Executed it.
yeah, and the animation and I really loved the design of the characters. Is that what you would say? Like the way the siren looked, like she was amazing. She was beautiful. Like in a very
like horrifying, but
horrifying. Yeah, yeah, but very different from like the quote unquote like standard of beauty. I mean, yeah, I guess she was like a Southeast Asian, not themed, but like what do you say?
themed is
Character.
Like she was stylized.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, yeah, and
it seemed kind of like crazy the way she moved. She had so many chains hanging from one part of her body to another, and she would just spin around in the water, and that was kind of her dance.
Yeah.
And the way they arranged this, like she didn't get tangled up in her own adornments.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can kind of tell that she was kind of magical. But the framing and the styling of her costume and her body was, it's almost like it was a mixture of painting and like jewelry art.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But
It's very hard to describe. And
it was so fast and disjointed.
Yeah.
Like erratic and abrasive sounds. The sounds were like,
they were really, it was not like literally painful, but like
they were almost like car crashes, like continual, like just screeching and tearing and screeching and like don't turn the sound all the way up, it'll hurt. Like
and it's all the time. It's not like, oh, just here and there. It's all the time and it's loud.
But I know there's people out there who would be like, if you haven't come across something like this before, you want something that's a departure from a regular narrative, and you want to see something that's more style and concept than necessarily plot driven.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is a plot to it, but you had Southeast Asian, you had conquistador, you had Greek myths of nymphs in the water. You know, all these things, they kind of mashed all that into one story.
It was very interesting. I mean, if you think it's something that you would like, I would definitely recommend watching. It's so different than anything that I've ever seen. But again, I could really appreciate it for what it was.
I'm looking through the cast,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't recognize, and I'm sure these people are big names in their own area, but I don't recognize them. Christian Serenos, who I assume was the Siren. Joe Manganiello.
Oh yeah, you should know who he is. Who is he?
Yeah, he played Flash Thompson in Spider-Man, and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Jai Courtney. That guy? Oh, he was Bruce Willis's son in Good Day to Die Hard. He was also in that Tom Cruise movie, Jack Reacher. He was the bad guy. Oh, that's crazy. I never would have thought he was in it. Because, like, there's not really talking in this thing.
No, that's why I'm really confused about like who these people like portrayed, because
it just seems like, if anything, they'd be doing a lot of yelling. I wonder if they got paid like speaking rates because they didn't really utter words.
Yeah.
But Jabaro, season 3 of Love, Death, and Robots. You want to talk about the first one?
Sure.
3 robots. Even though I'm sure that this wasn't your cup of tea either, I think if given the choice, you would prefer this because it was at least funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, I'm not putting the other one down, but like normal animation.
Yeah, and this was so the fall of humanity. 3 robots who are designated by numbers kind of wander through this post-apocalyptic city, just trying to make sense of how humans live their lives based on a limited knowledge of human beings and the things they left behind. They learn the concept of human sports, consumption, and eventually pets when they encounter a living cat, which proceeds to just follow them throughout the town they're in, or the city that they're moving around in. They learn about their origins and through like video game controllers, Atari systems, and they later arrive towards the end at what appears to be a nuclear missile base. And one of them explains that the humans died out from environmental disasters caused by their own actions. One of the others states that at one point humans genetically engineered their cats, giving them intelligence. And Cat proves this at the very end by showing it can speak and demanding to be petted. And then, or they're, with this kind of idle threat that, you're going to pet us or we're going to unleash holy hell on you. And then he brings out all of his buddies. So at the very end, these robots are kind of trapped by all these cats, and they have to satisfy them by petting them till the end of time.
It's very funny from a cat person point of view.
Which I am not, but I'm sure.
Well, you still appreciated it, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, because that's kind of how they are. You're either doing what they want, or they want nothing to do with you.
It was very true to cats.
But
personality.
Yeah, these robots. One was he had an urban flair, and he was tall and kind of he was a human. Oh, you're breaking all the stuff.
Making extra noise at the beginning, breaking things.
Urban guy, tall, kind of a humanoid, and then there's one little short orange one with he has a face, but it's like a TV, and he has line art for his expressions that just change, like surprise is 2 circles or 3 circles, 1 for a mouth and 2 for eyes. And then the last one is this triangle with one kind of all-seeing eye that speaks just like a robot, very monotone, like it worked at a library or something. It just disseminates information like it pulls off the web. And it was just kind of funny. It's almost like it was a gradient of no personality for the trapezoid or the triangle robot, up through the other 2 who were all personality. And they didn't necessarily they didn't access all the details about planet Earth or about people. They let the triangle do all that, and they would just kind of poke fun at it, oh God, how did these human beings rule the world for
so long,
thousands of years? They seem to be complete idiots.
Complete idiots.
And it's funny because I couldn't disagree with any of them. Yeah, we make stupid decisions all the time, and we make stupid decisions in the way of while we're doing them. Eating packaged food when we know that we're creating trash that doesn't dissolve. And not to say I'm super duper environmentalist, but if you just look at it on a grand scale, the millions of human beings who live on this planet, they make dumb decisions all the time. It's kind of neat to watch an automaton look at it and say, yeah, you guys are dumb.
You were making bad decisions before all day, every day, and now look what happened.
know if you know any of these actors. Oh, this guy was on The Mandalorian, Omid Abtahi, Christine Adams. She was in The Whole Truth, and she played Lynn Pierce in Black Lightning. And Hakeem K. Kazim, I think he was the tall urban robot. He was in a movie called Riding with Sugar in 2020, and produced and starred in Man on Ground in 2011. But I like Love, Death, and Robots. I think a lot of the episodes are. That whole series does a pretty good job of putting a large light on human behavior and just simple decisions that we make in our day to day, and how they affect our. What are you looking up? Yeah, you.
The Riding with Sugar, because I thought it was something that I had seen before, but it's something different. I figured out the title.
Yeah, I binged this. We won't spend all the time going through all the different episodes, but
are they all very different?
Oh, their animation's different. The stories are different. Some of them are light.
I should watch a couple more. They're short.
Yeah, there was one. I can't remember the name, or if it was on season 1, but it was about a. It was like a family who owned a farm, and there was like giant, there was a horde of beasts that kind of like took over their farm, and instead of sending out tractors to harvest their crops, they manned these remote control like fighting machines to fight off these monsters, and that's what a farmer was, 300 years in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was created in an animation that was more like Disney.
Mm-hmm.
So,
interesting.
There's a ton of them. If you haven't seen Love, Death, and Robots, I binged like 8 of them in one evening, which is not something I normally do, but yeah. You're right there.
Yeah, I've been
watching a new one.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just.
You're just playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
All right, so for my recipe this week, I try to do different ones for the podcast as opposed to what I put on Instagram, but I had one this week that was, I'm just going to keep promoting it. And there is a name for it online, but I can't seem to find it right now. I'll just tell you what it is. It's extraordinarily easy to make. This will be on the mailing list. I don't think I have it on JAY Hey Honey on Instagram, but it's super easy to make. You simply slice up apples, you coat them in peanut butter, you set them to the side, and then in a skillet, and this is the important part, use butter, don't use oil. Saute sliced almonds for about 10 to 15 minutes until they start to turn darker brown, and maybe crispen and blacken just a little bit. Remove those from the heat, and then you can roll the peanut butter apples in those, in the sauteed almonds, and then coat or dip in honey. It makes more sense to drizzle with honey, that particular one, just because otherwise you're going to get chunks of almond or peanut butter in your jar of honey. The honey I promoted for this particular pairing, I have a Albiza rose apple blossom honey that is kind of reminiscent of a buttered toffee, which pairs perfectly with it. Again, even if you don't get it from me, just use honey on this at the very end. Don't dip it. It's going to make a mess. Drizzle it. So yeah, that's my recipe for the week. You ready for your blacklist?
Yes.
Better be good. You didn't come up with the last cast member, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, all right. What did you find?
So I found this movie script called Pikesville Sweep, written by Brendan McHugh.
I'm assuming you're right because.
Okay. The synopsis says, after a young, newly widowed janitor in a small mining village is unexpectedly elected mayor, she navigates a new relationship with a mysterious man from the city and tries to determine how to use her new position of power to confront the corruption that has plagued the town for years. I think that I will go see this movie, and that's why I picked this blacklist, because I would be intrigued.
What was the plot element that pulled you in?
The fact that she was a janitor in a small town and is unexpectedly...
I want to know how they make that...
elected mayor. When I was casting it, that was something that I struggled with, because this person has to go from mayor... from janitor to mayor, and that really stumped me, because that seems like quite the transformation. Not transformation, but leap. Yeah.
So, in kicking it around, we came up with 2 to 3 cast people, because we don't know at this point what the element of corruption is in this town. So, with most of these, we had to surmise a little bit. Who did you have for the janitor?
I didn't have anybody for the janitor. I had someone for the mayor.
Oh, the janitor you couldn't cast. She's the one you couldn't cast.
I honestly was very confused by the casting. By the characters that we were casting.
So we have.
I thought that the janitor turned into, those are bad words, but quote unquote turned into the mayor. And so that I cast one person for that role.
Yeah, that's right. That's who it is. Who'd you cast? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, you just asked who I cast as the janitor, and I just got confused.
Is the mayor.
Okay.
It's the same person.
So I was curious about the ages of these people.
Uh-huh.
And so if I was casting for a younger person in this role, I would cast a newcomer. Her name is Daisy Edgar Jones, and probably a lot of people know her from the movie version of Where the Crawdads Sing.
Can you believe I have not seen that?
No, I'm shocked. No, I'm not. I can't. I can believe that you've not seen it. I can also believe that you probably not read it or listened to it on tape, but I didn't do that either.
What else, is she known for anything else, or was that her big breakout?
I think that was her big breakout, but I could be wrong, but that's what I know her from. But she was really good in that. And I just think that so that book, or that story, she was from a small town.
Oh,
and
okay. Typecasting a bit. Good for you.
Actually, yeah.
Oh.
But she was a very strong woman character, and I feel like in this script, this is also what's being called for, is a strong... I mean, obviously, if she's newly widowed, and then she, as I just love this phrase, unexpectedly is elected mayor, that seems so was this town desperate for a mayor, someone to be mayor, and they were like, well...
Let's go with this girl whose life's been totally destroyed.
She needs a new,
She needs a makeover. Let's put her in charge of everything.
Because, mayor of a city... I would assume no matter what size, it's quite the task.
Well, I don't know. It's is this in the South and some nowhere town? Or
see, and then I feel like she'd be good because she's had this experience before.
Where do you think they're going to cast this? Or where do you think they're going to set this? That's something we should discuss, is where they're going to set it.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind to me is either Tennessee, Carolinas, or Mississippi, or
Are there mining places there? I'm not familiar with
maybe Pennsylvania.
mining
Pennsylvania has a
people
lot
away.
of, or in God, it could even be in northern Michigan. There's a lot of
Okay.
mining up there,
Mm-hmm.
or in the Dakotas, something like that.
So lots of choices for locations.
Who'd you come up with for the love interest?
Well, so for the next, again, remember I had trouble casting
Clearly,
these characters. Remember
and this was her pick, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm very serious about this. It takes a lot of thought, which I know does not sound like this episode it did, but it really does. Like I
All right, let me ask you this: who is the next person you cast?
there you go. That's better. Sounds okay. The next person I cast was Sebastian Stan, who now that I'm thinking about it, I've probably cast before.
Okay, for what?
For what?
In this, what did you cast him for in this project?
Okay, in this.
Stay with me. Louisa.
I'm trying. In this, in the movie that I picked, in the script that I picked, I cast him as the mysterious man from the city.
Okay, so that's the new love interest.
Okay, then he's the new love interest.
It's 3 lines of synopsis. How are you? I don't get how you're confusing these.
I don't know.
So who is it again? What's his name?
He's okay. I take it back. I'm way too tired to be doing this.
What's the guy's name?
He's not the love interest.
He's not.
No,
Okay.
He's the antagonist. He's the person who's been like, what does it say, corrupting the town, or there's some big problem with the town.
Tell me his name again.
Sebastian Stan.
And what was he in? Previous to you casting him in this fictitiously.
He's been in lots of movies, I think, but the one that I most remember him from is I, Tonya.
Oh, about the skater?
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure there's other things because...
Who was he in that? Was he Tanya's boyfriend?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I know that guy.
And I think he's just a very good... He's really good in the roles that I've seen him in.
Does he strike you as someone who would hook up with a woman and then lead her down a dark path and kind of corrupt her?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that was his role in.
Okay. He's like, hey, it'd be great. Let's go club your rival on national television.
Yep. I think it takes a special person to sign up for roles like that.
Did you come up with anybody else?
Nope.
To cast?
That was all.
I came up with Ariana Greenblatt for the janitor, lady who becomes mayor.
Okay.
She worked on Avengers, Infinity War, and Barbie, and it appears she's done a ton of voice work. But I think she's it seems just at first blush she's about due for a breakout because she's been working a lot, but it doesn't seem like she's had anything that's really taken her over the edge. But I don't know.
She's super young.
Yeah. What's the age on there? Because she didn't look it in the photos I looked at. She looked older.
She's only 15.
Really?
Can you hear me? She's only 15.
You're kidding me.
That's what it says. It says that she was born in 2007.
What? Oh, she'll be a young bride then. All right. Well, this is a poor choice on my part because I took one photo. I'm like, she looks like she could play around 27, 28.
I could see how you could do that from one photo, though, depending on which photo you looked at. She could be, yeah.
I looked at Up and Comer. I can't believe she's that young. I feel dumb. I looked at Up and Comer. I'll tell you how I picked her. I looked at Up and Comers for 2023, and I mean from Avengers: Infinity War. Oh, she must have been one of the kids from that because that's several years old.
That's funny because I looked up and comers for like actor and actresses for, I don't know. I thought like 2022 or there was something. Anyway, that was what came up is like up and comer actors and actresses for 2022, which, yeah, now we're in 2023. So, and the first time I looked at the list, they were all really young.
Yeah,
and so I don't know.
like, she must have incredible hair and makeup people because I thought she was like 25, 26.
I could see that. Well, and the thing is remember, like before I said, I take this very seriously. And I mean, obviously, the script doesn't have the ages of these people,
Yeah.
but like, I would think if you, again, seriously, if you're a widow, you had to have been married, and then someone's gonna elect you mayor of a city or whatever. You're not gonna be like, how old are you gonna be?
You know what's funny is there was a girl who I graduated before she did, and she always looked very young. And right after this, I moved to California right after college, and then came back. So maybe 7 years out.
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard about, like, she was working at a place in my hometown,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine had mentioned, "Hey, did you hear what happened to?" I don't want to say her name. I don't want to give it away, but like, her husband, like, he died tragically,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, she was married. He was like, and this friend of mine was like, yeah, she'd been married for like 4 years. I'm like, she was a single girl like 6 years ago, and now she's married.
Mm-hmm.
So, and had a kid with him too.
Oh, wow.
So that's why, like, and it's funny because to see her, I think I saw her a year after that, and she did not look much older than she did in high school. But you know, life happens really fast.
Yep.
My love interest, who, you know, may or may not take this janitor / mayor down a dark path.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Isaac.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think because he does, he can play brooding and potentially crazy pretty well.
Yes, I would agree.
If that is in fact the direction the script takes, like, he is responsible for, since they say he's a mysterious man from the city, you can easily deduce from that he plays some part in whatever this corruption is within the city.
That's a really good casting call.
Well, they like it. They always like to play a villain with dark hair.
This is true.
I mean, or like, if they're in some way demonic or insane, they give them blonde hair or white hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there was anything like, this was just me spitballing, if there was another character who was contributing to the corruption in this unnamed town, I figured it might have something to do with mining, like a mine owner, because didn't they say it was a mining town?
Mm-hmm.
/ a city surveyor, somebody associated with the city government in some way that's in some way corrupt. I think Viggo Mortensen would be good at that.
Yeah, that's a really good call too.
He played what was that role he had where he was, I'm sure you didn't see this, but he used to be a gangster, and then he moved to the country with his wife and kid to get away from the gangster life. Oh, A History of Violence.
Oh.
So he was when he lived out in the country with his wife and kid, he was like just a mild-mannered, quiet dude. And he, through a series of incidents, the mob comes back to kind of lure him, to bring him back to the city, because he was some kind of enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see this, you know, he has to repel them, so you see this switch turn, and he becomes this like brutal, vicious mafioso. So usually they cast him as a hero because he's a really likable guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries to be soft-spoken until he kind of gets pushed.
Yep.
He does that really well. I would like to see him play like a straight up bad. Oh, or if you ever saw, I know you didn't see this, Eastern Promises.
I've heard of that movie, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it.
He plays a Russian mob guy, who is, look, spoiler alert, it's 20 years old. He's actually undercover. He's a cop, but in order to go undercover, he has to get all tattooed with Russian mob stuff, and
For real tattooed?
For real tattooed. Well, not him, not like Vigo, but the character is all
right,
tattooed.
right. Yeah.
And for the bulk of the movie, he's just a complete badass and kind of heart and soulless.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if his role, if he, like, just for example, if he were to be cast in this in that type of predicament, it would be interesting to see him as the straight up baddie all the way through.
Yep. I agree. Good casting.
Except for Ariana. Sorry, Ariana, you're way too young. But
that's okay. You didn't know. And again, we don't know how old, like, what, I mean...
That's so young, 15.
I think that's why I struggled so much with, well, obviously with the words of the script, but also with how old all of these people should be, because they have to, like, quote unquote, look good together on screen. So...
Well, I'm going to go on record and saying Ariana's way too young.
Oh no, I agree. Especially with, like, if you were casting like Oscar Isaac and Viggo Mortensen, and who was the other person? I'm sorry. Or was there not?
Ariana.
Oh, okay. So like those two are.
She's just too young.
Yeah.
I didn't realize she was that young, but I'm telling you, like, your photographer is on point. If that guy's on your payroll, Ariana, hold on to him. Because he made you look 10 years older. I don't know. Is that it?
Okay.
Do we got it?
Yeah, I think that's all of it.
Yeah, we don't.
I feel like.
You feel like what?
We don't have what? What are you gonna say?
We, as always, we close the show. We don't know what the next movie is. We'll put it out when we figure it out. We can do one thing at a time, man.
We can only, and it's the summer now, so like
you're lucky if I even get out of bed tomorrow.
We can't. It's a holiday tomorrow.
It is. Happy 4th. Ugh, I'm so tired. I'm done for the night.
We had a very busy day.
Oh, I'm not. Don't even get me started. I don't want to go into it.
Oh no, you don't need to go into it. I'm just saying we had a very busy day. It was busy. It was good.
All right, we're gonna do some thinking about the next one. Until then. Later, Gator.
Bye.